Okay. So welcome everybody. This is the Land Use Committee, subcommittee of LOCAC. Um, I'll go ahead and call roll. Um, Molly,
Here.
uh, Gary is not here. Brad is not here. Becky,
Here.
Jacob,
Present.
and Larry.
Present.
I have no announcements. Are there any announcements from any of the Land Use Committee members?
Yeah,
Becky?
my announcement was basically my email to you guys about the on-site wastewater treatment and, just the aquifer in general. But, we're making land use, we're advising on that. I did get that email back from James Bishop, who's an expert in on-site wastewater treatment things. And today his answer was that it releases 50%. If I'm reading it right, 50% of the nitrates and the effluent it's releasing into the aquifer. So we're okaying things to be built with septics that are still going to release more nitrates. And our last annual report showed our nitrates were already going up. And even if, like, say, Cabrillo or the rest of the town is sewered, the residuals from that are still releasing into the aquifer for quite a long time. But I think that's kind of important, because people think, oh yeah, well, I'll just replace my septic tank. That's not okay to release that. And the PFAS, the forever chemicals, it does not treat for those chemicals. So that's my comment.
Hey, any comments, other comments from the committee or announcements, I should say?
I'd just like to wish everybody happy 4th of July that we had
Yeah.
it. We all survived it, I guess. We're all here, so
Yay.
Yeah, I don't know about your neighborhood, but boy, it sounded like a war zone in my neighborhood.
yeah.
Mine too. Yeah, somebody speculated that part of what we were hearing was the noise from Cayucas. Maybe because there was no fog, maybe the noise traveled further, but I was inside my house and it sounded like a big professional fireworks show was going on for about an hour. And I don't think we're doing them in Morro Bay anymore. So
No,
Cayucas is the closest.
lots of people with M80s,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
quarter sticks of
There was
dynamite.
a lot
Anyway,
of stuff
But
going on in the
happy 4th of
neighborhood.
July.
Hey, so I have a question, and this is on my comment.
Yeah.
When I bring up something like that, like those new septics releasing stuff, I mean, does anybody else care? Or is that something we want to try and bring up? Or, because it just seems wrong.
Well, Molly's done a lot of research with the county on that, and the environmental health person for the county who's in charge of the O'Kane septic tanks. So I don't know, were we going to have a presentation?
That's
We
at
are going to have a
full-
presentation at the next main LOCAC meeting with Marissa Consuelo or Caruso. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her last name right now. So she's going to talk about that, but I think that that's like a little different than Becky's concern, because we're evaluating things based on what the county is sending us. So it seems like I'm concerned about the whole topic of the groundwater basin here, but I don't know if this group is the place to be like going into it that deeply. It seems like we have to get, I know you go to the basin management meetings and committee meetings and other county meetings and stuff, but our little group here is evaluating the projects that the county sends us. So if the county is still saying that the county officials are still saying it's reasonable to allow this growth, our little group doesn't have like the political power to say, no, we don't think we should be building one more house. I mean, even if we did fill.
Well, right. And I'm not even saying that. I mean, because there's lots with sewer hookups, but we're talking about lots with no sewer hookups.
Right.
And 50%, it's only being treat it to 50% of the nitrates and the other stuff that gets taken care of through the sewer. So even if the county is saying, oh, well, we think this okay, and we're going to let this happen. And it's been happening in Cabrillo and the places outside of the prohibition zone, you know, the entire
Yeah,
time.
lots of areas.
Well,
in
right.
those
And, you know,
instances.
we are a small group, but we are advisory. And then it
Yeah.
seems like
Right.
we should then bring it to full LOCAC and go, do you realize what we're doing here? And then bring it up with the county and Bruce, because it's just wrong. It's just wrong to do that.
Well, maybe it could be proposed to Deborah as a topic for a full LOCAC meeting.
That's what I think, Becky, is that's the
Right.
best
Yeah.
process.
Well,
is
that's why I
bring it
wanted to talk
forward.
about it here, because I want
Yeah.
you guys to at least know about that so that it's not just me, you know,
Right.
oh, it's Becky being a downer. And it's like, no, it's like, we should care what's going into our aquifer.
Right. Well, we do have the presentation on the septic approval process from the county at our next LOCAC meeting this month. And then hopefully we'll get a report out on the basin management, because we did not get one last time.
Right.
And that should then spur whether we want to, as a LOCAC body, have a, you know, a more in-depth discussion on the basin management and the results of the, you know, the new model, which is obviously different than the model that was used, the static model used before.
Yeah.
Okay,
One last
any
thing
comments?
too.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
go Becky.
Yeah, just one last thing on that too. So in that video of this last BMC meeting, Beth Reinecke from, you know, S&T Water made a very important long statement to the board. And I
Yeah.
think everyone should listen to that. She's a smart woman. She knows what she's doing. And she basically is the only person on that board that stands up for our water supply, honestly. I was trying to get, I'll try to see if I can get her to give me the pages, and I would just send it to all of you so you can read it, but lots of very important information in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comment? Not hearing. We'll move on with our first item on the agenda, which is the dividing of the lot on Doris. Brian Zimmerman, are you here to present on that?
Here.
Oh, he is here. Okay. He's here. He,
So it's
he's
pretty
here. He just
straightforward.
doesn't have his face showing because he was on somebody else's computer. He told me that, but
Okay.
he's here.
So Brian, if you want to
Yes.
just, we have obviously the stuff from planning, the plan number and all the documents that went with it, but if you want to just give us a basic description of what's happening.
Sure. And I wasn't able to download the documents that were shared on your website. It looks like they were not available. So I'm not sure exactly
Yeah,
what you had.
that was my fault. I'm not sure what happened with that, but we've all I believe we've all received those documents. It's all the documents you had sent to the county, submitted to the
Okay.
county, and we already reviewed them. So you can just speak about it generally. What your
Perfect.
proposal is.
Okay. So I'm the applicant and also the authorized agent, because I took it upon myself to do so, because it's the most affordable way to do it for me. I'm no expert, and hopefully this is the last time I'll have to do something like this. But what I thought was going to be a minor lot line adjustment is not. It's a lot line adjustment. I believe that's because it's in the coastal zone. But my project, or our project, involves 1950 Doris, what would be 1960 Doris, but it's a bare land lot at 1960, and 1970 Doris. And if you have a map in front of you, those are three contiguous lots. My wife and I live at 1950. The other people that were that we went in on the lot at 1960 are the APN of 074161029. We bought that lot together, and our intent was not to develop it, but to add it equally to each of our lots. So we each live at 1950 and 1970 on most of Cuesta by the Sea lots, a 40 by 100 lot. And so this would increase each of our lots 20 by 100 each, so about 6,000 feet, from 4,000 to 6,000 feet once, and if the lot line adjustment is approved. So it would eliminate, and I don't know what the proper terminology would be, but retire that APN of 074161029 when all is said and done. And I'm
And then
happy.
you're gonna add the, so your current parcel will become larger, right? And then your neighbor at 1950, their parcel will also be increased.
We are 1950. That's something my wife and I's home.
Okay,
Lot 1950. The other neighbors, we purchased the middle lot from are at 1970. And yeah, that's correct. They'll each be increased to approximately 6,000 feet
okay.
from 4,000 feet. There, the lot in quite that we purchased is a bare lot, always has been a bare land lot, no improvements whatsoever. The people that we bought it from were intending to develop it, and we just wanted to have an extra buffer there, and so we purchased it.
Yeah,
Brian,
I
I'm sorry, go ahead,
I walked by there the other day and took a look at it, and yeah, I don't have any issues with it myself. Sounds like a great idea.
My
Yeah,
only question is, Brian, if
Sure.
maybe you know this answer, is that right now it's just a vacant lot, but if you did anything to develop it, put hardscape in, whatever, does that fall within the habitat conservation program?
That's a good question, and I don't know the answer to that. It's not, and that's what I described in my application. There will not be any improvements put on it, but I suppose at a time, if it was decided by either myself, my wife, and our neighbors to do something on our property, we'd have to fall within the guidelines of the county as they're specified. You know,
All
as
right,
And
far
so
as
right now, there's no plans to develop it at all.
no plans, no plans at
leave
all.
it a
Put
vacant
up a
lot.
fence, put up a fence in the middle, once the boundaries are set in stone, and go from there. Just have that extra buffer for whatever, you know, to maybe start a garden, or, you know, have a dog run or whatever.
Well,
Jim,
yeah.
Jim, were you asking if they would need to go through the county to do something in terms of landscaping it?
Yeah, I mean, because any property to change it has to go through right now under the has to go through the habitat conservation program. I mean, you have to, you
Yeah,
know,
I
I'm
think,
the
just not
offset.
sure I'm not sure that's accurate for landscaping, for building anything on it for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a
And-
good question. I can ask
Yeah,
Mason.
that's
And-
also putting in a fence.
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, any kind of disturbing of the property would
yeah,
definitely,
and if it came down to that, and I believe there's an environmental component to this that the county looks at, you would be more expert in that, in what they go through. But in looking at our, you know, there was a bunch of pages of things that I had to complete in my application, and
right?
and I believe that they cover all of that stuff. So if there were to be any type of habitat conservation assessment, or they would do that in the county on this. I mean, even if they know, which they do know, that we're not planning on putting anything up. And if it came down to it, we don't even have to put up a fence, you know, we just have the lot there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just saying that at some point in the future, there might be a fence there between us and our neighbors.
And I'm looking at just a Google Maps street view, and it looks like it's basically just grass, not even native plants on there at
There's
all.
nothing on it right
There's
now.
some stuff, yeah, but there's not much. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
a
Not
typical
compared
vacant
to-
lot.
Yeah,
But
it doesn't have oaks and chaparral and
Right, it doesn't
Right.
have any of that stuff on it.
right. I used to live down the street from you years ago.
Okay, and well, I understand Molly lives around the corner as well. So like she said, she walked by. So yeah, any of you are welcome to walk by and take a look at it. And I
Yeah,
appreciate the invite, and that you're here assessing these things.
I don't have any
Okay.
problem. I don't have any problem with,
Okay. Do you want to make a motion to move it to the consent agenda?
sure, I make a motion to move this to the consent agenda.
Do somebody want to second Becky's motion?
I would second it, but I'd like to add to it that any fences or anything done to that property request a environmental review.
Okay. Well,
Just
then,
just to
I think we
remind the
get,
county, you know, to
Okay.
do
Well,
their
wouldn't-
job.
Yeah, Larry, wouldn't they, if they applied to put up a 6-foot fence, wouldn't the county just deal with that at that point? When they
That's
get their
fine,
fence
yeah, but
permit?
just in case anybody's asleep at the wheel, you know. Uh,
and
I
we get, and Molly, can we get clarification too on that? I mean, if this is
Yeah.
the first lot line, lot split that I've done on the land use committee. And I was kind of wondering why it even came to us to begin with. Because it's not any kind of development or anything like that, but maybe
it
there's
in the
a
coastal
reason.
zone. It's in the
It's in the
coastal
coastal
zone.
zone.
And
Yeah.
we had one on Pasadena
Hmm.
a few years back.
And we had that one
soon as
on Butte. We recently had that one on Butte.
Butte, you know, soon as they got their permit for it, or they got the thing, they built a guest house on it. You know, so you
Oh,
never know
that one.
what's going to
Okay.
happen in the future.
Yeah,
And all we're approving right now, just so I'm clear on this, is that we're only approving the lot line split.
Yeah.
That- That's it.
And that
No, no other development on the property.
Mm, Yeah, and if I can add that there's no intention to do that, to build anything, any type of living structure at all. And we wanted to prevent that from happening. And it's,
Sure.
you would know again better than I, that since the moratorium had been lifted, the owners of the lot that we purchased it from were our previous neighbors, and they had always intended on building on it. And when they were in line to do so, I believe number 32, and started to move forward with that, with getting an architect and getting soil samples and stuff like that. And so that's when we decided, well, we better do something now. And that's why we went in with our neighbors. Neither of us could have purchased or afforded the lot singularly. So we purchased it together to not have a building put there, to not have a house put there, and
that's
not have
smart.
anything built on it. So anyway, and I'm not sure where that's going, if that house would have been built in that next couple years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. It sounds like they're a little bit behind on their numbers of approvals. I understand it's 7 for this year, and it may be less than that because they don't have the habitat conservation thing nailed down yet. And you could answer that, I guess.
Yeah, no, they're still, because of the Moro Manzanita now is in play on that. And then, the water in the basin,
Sure.
that's still controversial whether there's enough water there or not.
I heard that earlier
Yeah.
about nitrates and so on.
Yeah.
So
So-
should we go ahead and vote, or does anyone else have?
Yeah, so I guess we have so Larry, your motion is still on the consent agenda, but just to remind the county that we're only just approving the dividing of the lot, nothing else.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All
So
right,
I'm in
then.
favor.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
I,
Okay, motion carries. So, Brian, this will be on our Thursday LOCAC meeting. What it means to be on the consent agenda is usually it basically just gets approved by the LOCAC board or the council without discussion. But there's always a chance somebody from the council could bring something up and want to discuss it. So, but that's where it's at. So
would it behoove me to be there for that meeting then?
it would, yeah, it would, if you could.
Sure. Okay, so that's this Thursday would be on the agenda?
It's
It's
on
not, it's
the 24th.
The 24th. Okay.
I'll send you an email.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I
Thank you.
understand that there will be a panel, and this might be because of the coastal zone. I'm new to this. I've never done it. I don't intend to ever do it again. But it's a lot more expensive than I thought it was going to be, and it's time consuming. But I'll get through it because I have to. It's an economic issue there, you know. But I understand there may be a panel when this goes further down the road, and I'm thankful that you guys looked at it because it could take up to a year, I'm told, with these things. And this is about as simple as they get. This type of
Right.
lot
Yeah.
line adjustment.
So Brian, we're just one voice in many out there that gives input to the planning commission and the planning department on what should
Mhm.
happen with a piece of property. So yeah, the planning department has their own committee that it goes through, and then they decide
Sure.
whether it goes on to the planning commission or not. But all we do is just say this is how we feel about it, and
Okay, great.
that final decision is made at our LOCAC meeting, our entire body.
Perfect. Well, I'll plan on being there on the 24th. The meetings around the same time then?
Yeah, 6:30
Yeah,
PM.
6:30,
Okay,
and it's a
perfect.
Zoom meeting as well.
And yeah, this is my computer, but I'm lucky I was even able to load Zoom up on it. So sorry for the no video, but I was able to get the audio, and thankfully you guys can hear me and I can hear you and see you loud and clear. So I appreciate it.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Bye.
See you on the 24th. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have no other items on that agenda. So moving on to any business items we need to discuss.
Seems like we
You
already
were
discussed our other items.
you were wanting to
Right,
get
so
the dates of when we
yeah,
all signed on.
right. So I'm going to check for those Google Docs and see if I can find it in the Google Docs, and then figure out everybody's date and make sure that we're getting everybody approved when they're supposed to be approved. So you can
What
do
are you
it's
what are
two.
you referring to?
So the at-large community members, they have a term of 2 years and they can serve
Oh,
up to
wow.
8 years.
Mhm.
So we have to, every 2 years, they have to be renewed by the LOCAC body.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to miss it.
I see
So we're
there's an
trying to find
Eric.
out those dates. So Larry says there's a folder out there somewhere.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it might
there's-
be too just where when we applied for it, and then there's all our statement and everything.
Yeah,
the
well,
date
it would have to be it has to be approved by the LOCAC body. So there's some
Right.
point where LOCAC approved you to be on this committee, and that's the start of the 2 years.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just thinking there should be a file. You shouldn't have to go through
Yeah,
all
I'm
the
sure it
meetings to
happened.
find it. That wouldn't be fun.
No.
there's an Eric I see on the screen here.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Eric
there's
Von Berg.
Eric Von Berg. I'm just a local resident. I was just listening in.
Welcome, Eric.
My wife had sent me the link, so I'm
Great.
Hello.
a planner,
Yeah.
so I kind of interested in all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
You're a planner with
Well,
the county?
No, I'm with it's Rincon Consultants.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So I just
And Becky, did you want to continue the conversation or with that we had at the beginning of the meeting about
Well,
nitrates and water systems, or
Yeah, well, it was basically the the on-site wastewater treatment systems that are being used in the outside the prohibition zone for new or existing houses to either replace failing ones like up in Cabrillo or new houses. And that I got a hold of James Bishop, who that's his expertise, and he works for the water board. And at okay, how many years ago was it? There was a meeting where he spoke at LOCAC and said that those systems release 30% of their nitrates. So I wrote to him, he got back to me today, and it turns out it's 50% of the nitrates. So even if
Is that the old systems or the new
the
systems?
new systems,
So they reduce it 50%.
right, so that means that they're still being able to release 50% of the nitrates, and my concern is we have nitrates that have gone up. They're still going
But
up.
but isn't it like conserving water, you know? It's
It's still
conserving,
put the water still goes back into the,
but
ground.
it's less.
Well, it's
It's
less nitrates, but we are over the mark on our nitrates,
Right.
so why do we want to put any more nitrates in?
because we're still working on in the prohibition zone, hooking all those houses up to a sewer system
Yeah, I
that
know that. I'm talking about outside.
Inside the prohibition zone.
Right, so
That's so like
Cabrillo,
up in Cabrillo Estates, the
but
rural areas.
it is going to take time. I heard this when they were building the sewer, that it's not going to happen overnight, that
well, right.
the nitrates are down. So if you're saying Cabrillo Estates or large acreage,
Yeah, or Bayview Heights or over, in the Willow area, none of them are on
yeah,
Well, even if it was
but
outside
they
the
have bigger
prohibition zones on its
properties.
septic system.
It's
well,
1
right.
acre, you
I know,
know?
and the ones in Cabrillo, some of their lots are not much bigger than mine. And I've heard too that some of those lots are going to have a really hard time accommodating the size of these new.
And I don't want to single out Cabrillo Estates because a lot
Well,
of
I'm just
people,
talking about the lot size there, because let's say over in the Willow neighborhood, those are all big lots pretty much. I don't know of small lots over there. I'm talking about lots that are the size, they're the size of some of the ones on Highland here. Well, I have a small one, but there's some big, the other block down has big lots. But my
but
concern is, from the very beginning, that whole neighborhood was left out of the sewer. And we were given different reasons why it's in a different watershed, which is not true, and turned out, it's not true. So my question is, why?
they're discussing hooking up to the sewer now,
Well,
aren't
they
they?
are, but in the meantime, people have, yeah, but they've been told, from what I've heard, is that you're going to pay about $100,000 to hook up to the sewer, or $100,000 for one of these.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're allowed to build new houses on these new septic systems that it just seems silly to release more nitrates
I
when we
think
don't.
there's
Well, I know,
only,
I
there's only
agree with
one
you. I
or
think
two
that's
houses up there that have, I think, submitted to build, new builds
right.
in the last
But
3 years that I've
it
been
is,
on LOCAC.
I think it'll be interesting. I think this is a good discussion, but I think this is a discussion we should have with the people from the county who are in charge of approving these
Yeah.
because when we had the house that the lot that was approved out on it was on Napomo, but it was out an acre lot out there. And Larry brought up the
Yeah.
question about, why are they doing a traditional septic system there when, Cabrillo Estates? And so that spurred us to talk to the county and find out how they make a decision on what kind of system are they going to use and that kind of stuff. So the county has a process. There's an environmental person with
Oh,
the
and I
county
know.
who,
It's just, and we've
you know,
talked about how they make some very kooky decisions with our water supply.
well, but they're our government. I mean, so we have to, they're the ones
Well,
that get to
that's my
make the
point is,
decision.
I know we're only a small thing, but there's all of us on LOCAC, and if we're like, why are we doing this? And how can we push to get them on the sewer then? How do we expedite that for them? I'm all for that. It should have happened
Those are the
in the first
conversations
place.
we should be having,
Well,
right?
right. So I just, we're friendly here, and I think we should, it's a smaller group, and then I think it branches out from here. That's why I bring it up here.
Yeah. So you're like the link that you sent today, it's important, you
Right.
know, and to continue with that, so we can keep the conversation going,
Yes,
so we can keep the conversation in LOCAC going,
yes.
you know,
Well,
and
and LOCAC puts out letters like supporting things, and if LOCAC is like, oh, well, the county just decides, but we're going, this is my water supply. You're making decisions on that aren't, we're seeing the data and they're not getting better. So that's concerning.
and that's why we have to keep the conversation going.
Right. And that's why I'm
We can't-
talking about
we
it right
can't-
here.
Yeah, and I'm saying that too, but we can't. We shouldn't let LOCAC make one broad statement.
No,
They have to
we
keep
They
pecking
do all the
away.
time. They did on
Huh?
the horse trail behind my house. The equestrians, through Deborah wrote a letter to the county saying, we support this equestrian trail right behind people's houses.
Well, I
So
believe
that's
we voted, we as a group, as
It was a
LOCAC, I
vote- it was a
believe we
vote of
voted to
the
support
LOCAC
that.
Well, that's
board.
what I'm saying, that LOCAC does that. LOCAC did
Yeah.
that when I was on the homeless thing, and we were like, we have to do something about Palisades. They do that. So that's why I'm,
That, but that's why I'm just questioning. We have to keep bringing it up.
right.
Yeah.
And that's why
I've fallen for it. The homeless thing, I wanted to do something.
yeah,
You
I'm
know,
just, the
the
only
horse
reason
trail, I wanted to do something.
right, the only reason I bring that up is because LOCAC does write letters about certain topics. That's the only reason I
Right.
say
Yeah.
it.
So I encourage you to, attend the LOCAC meeting and bring these things up. I mean, that's what that forum's for. When we have public
Right.
comment, things that aren't on the agenda, talk
Oh,
about it,
and
bring it up at LOCAC.
I have way before you were on
Yeah, but
I have. And sometimes you just get like, I don't know. I guess part of it is I'm like, what are I'm hearing now, you're thinking, well, some of you are thinking, well, that's the county government and they just do that. But it's like, do we just go, well, whatever?
They
Oh,
listen to us.
What?
I want to tell you, they listen to us. What they might not agree with it, but they do listen.
Oh, well, they
You know?
have to listen to our, they have to listen.
Okay.
We advise, but it
okay.
seems like on our
Anyway,
water.
Patrick, can I interrupt for 1 second? Patrick
Yeah.
has his hand up. Did
Oh,
you want to
okay.
say something, Patrick?
Thank you. Yes, I just want to thank Becky for bringing this up, and I think it is a very valid concern. And when you vote on projects, one way or another, whether it is a new house that might be using more water, or a house that's going to be on a septic system again, when you approve something like that, you are saying it's okay if we put more nitrates into the aquifer. It's okay if we use more water. So that's what you're saying to the county or to LOCAC when you make these decisions. So if you think it's okay, then go for it. But, we do not have water in our basin, as the new transient model has shown us. And we do not want to be putting more nitrates back in or into our aquifer, along with the other pharmaceuticals and PFAS and everything else that's going in. We need to do something about our only drinking water supply, and we need to clean it up. We can't be approving any more of these projects until that happens. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much, Becky. Appreciate it.
Bye, Patrick.
Okay. So we're going to discuss these issues with the entire LOCAC body. I think Becky, you're right to bring it up here, and we need to move it forward. And so we will talk about the basin management, and we will talk about the septic systems. Whether, in Patrick's right. I mean, you can vote whatever way you want to vote. I mean, if you
Right.
want to say we're never going to prove anything in Los Osos, then you have every right to do that. And then LOCAC will make a decision. The body will make a decision. We're not LOCAC. We're just a subgroup of land use.
Right, but we
LOCAC
have
is
but we have LOCAC members in this group.
yeah, that's part of
Right.
why the policy procedure manual has
Well,
LOCAC
right.
members
So
on
that's
part
why,
of the group.
right.
but LOCAC is the body. But land use doesn't make any recommendations to the county. Only LOCAC does. So
Right, but
anyways,
hey, Larry, here's a question too. So years ago, when you guys would approve things from this committee, sometimes then LOCAC would just send, they wouldn't do a full vote on everything we approved of. But now it seems like that's what happens. Anything that comes out of here, then it goes there. But correct me if I'm wrong on that, Larry.
You were right. When I was on LOCAC, we're divided. They didn't approve everything.
Right. No, my question
Yeah.
was that sometimes things just went from land use to the county. It didn't necessarily go on the agenda again to have full LOCAC vote on that. Is that
No,
true or not?
no.
Oh, okay.
We
Okay.
always tried to send it to LOCAC from land use,
Okay.
and
yeah, and the county's policy on all of the county's advisory committees is that there is only one advisory committee. And that's the only voice that the county recognizes.
Right.
did that.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. I just wanted to.
Okay.
I think Patrick had another question.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Sorry, no, I did not. I just didn't put my hand down.
Oh,
Bird here.
he's
So,
just waving.
Yeah.
I am doing that also. Thank you guys very much for being here, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah.
Okay. Mhm. Go ahead,
It's
Larry.
important that we talk about these things.
Mhm.
I'd still like to have in-person meetings.
Yeah.
Me
You know,
too. Me
that
too.
even though I'm used to Zoom now and everything else, I think physically seeing people is better than this. But
And I think I brought up before too, I had asked Ron Munns if it was, there was a possibility of using that building, and he said there was. Some people said, well, then he'd have to be there or someone would have to be there, I guess it would cost some money, but our supervisor has community funds that he can use.
We have those, and there's no more community funds, right? You know that now. So the community funds were cut out of the budget, so they all come from the CAO's office now.
Well, I remember asking him, I said, so Bruce, you're taking this new raise. How about funneling that money to Los Osos to pay for our meetings?
How'd
Three of
that
them
go?
didn't take it. He did. So anyway, I would
Yeah.
love to have, meetings together, because just like going to the BMC, you meet new neighbors, you talk to people with interesting ideas. I mean, I talked to a man, do you guys know Barry Brannigan, who owns Warden Lake? That
Mhm.
Right
huge
offhand.
400 acres from behind like Tapadero, behind the cemetery, all the way over to Turi Road. And he and some of the other landowners had this suggestion is like, we could capture runoff water there during very rainy years, and they could, pump it like up to the wastewater treatment site. And I talked to Ron Munns about it, and he said, well, there'd have to be something done to it before you just shoot it into that system. But would it be better? I mean, it's a lot of thousands of acres of acre feet of water. And it's like, would that be a better idea than a pipeline to water we don't know we're going to get? I mean, this also would recharge the aquifer. So it's fascinating. But I met him at the BMC because we were there in person.
Yeah. I've met him. I know him now, and he wants to build a dam.
Yeah, it's kind of a levee thing that used to be there, but
Yeah,
he took me
it's
out
a
for an
dam,
hour.
and it ruins the ecosystem. The fish that want to swim up the rivers and everything
Not
else,
necessarily.
and it does.
Well,
It-
okay,
it
so
does.
what I'm saying, there used to be something that went across there back in the 60s that got washed out. They have ways to bypass things for fish. I know we had a fish ladder on the creek where I managed the county outdoor school, but it's a thought, and here's a private landowner that's willing to want to do something innovative. He took
Yeah,
me out
no,
for
no,
yeah.
it was interesting. It caught my attention.
Right.
I
I
thought-
did, I asked him about beavers too, because they're using beavers all over the place to help replenish aquifers, but there it wouldn't work. And he took me out for an hour and a half all over his property to show me stuff. It was
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah, no, great thing, public, meetings and stuff. Getting back to
Right.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, we don't get to, I mean, I met Larry in person, and I think I've met Molly in person, and that's it.
Okay, so that's
Alright.
enough.
Okay, so, anything else? All right, then we're adjourned at 7:11. All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
you.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a great evening. Thank you all for your time.